people leaving, but you planning on something else, I should say. Well, yeah. Oh. Yeah, cash. No, what? We had some Saturday night when
Hello, Sheriff. I am fine. How are you tonight?
I didn't see you there.
Looking fine? Feeling fine? You're looking fine? Feeling fine? What could be better, huh? Yeah.
we had some issues. We need to get that.
I brought the big soda. I don't know. Oh, absolutely. I should have bought so I did it. Yeah.
Jefferson. Oh, somebody in the family wanted to get a bunch of guys together and buy it like that one thing, you know, but I heard of it. Can't do it very long. How about you? Getting there? Yeah. I've never been. He'd talk to him, Joey would tell you, I think, you know what, I sold both of those built. They're qualified. Built in both different farms, yeah. So you know how they evacuate the city. So the weeds win. That's the steep. So I don't think you how to get that monkey out. You know, yeah, that's fancy. So, yeah, because you're right. Oh, yeah. Thought that, you know, it's just around the hill. It's the game. It's not all. It's got the farm and then all the lots. No good with the attention. But from there, just there, I don't think the cat was packed, and the energy and the fun and cat, they cost $1,000, and that was a much better investment than the movie. Down front was either $15 or $25. And while we were walking in, someone who bought the front row seats gave us their tickets. They decided not to. So we got to go.
I can take that.
But you know, I must not have pushed the cancer. Sit up at the front seat. There was a time when people were oh, thank you. Standing up on the sun, and I would have lost.
Call this meeting to order, please. So, minute after. We'll have a roll call by the county clerk. As you know, we're having some difficulty with the pads right now, so she will do this verbally.
Some of you are connected, so Supervisor Kelly, Supervisor David,
Here.
Supervisor Smith,
Smith, here.
thank you. Supervisor Martin, Supervisor Payne, Supervisor Coots, Supervisor White, Supervisor Nealon,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz, Supervisor Roberts, Supervisor Christensen,
Here.
and Supervisor Zarling. Thank you.
What about the rest of us? Yep, we didn't press
We didn't press enter.
anything.
Go ahead and call it. Just call it.
Present and nothing.
Just says we're
Okay.
It says wait till the roll is called.
We will, please rise for a pledge of allegiance. Could I have Supervisor Coots can lead us tonight.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a moment of silence to consider what we have on our agenda tonight. Thank you. We're in compliance with open meetings law, Mr. Administrator.
We are, Mr. Chair.
I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. So move. And there was a second. As Supervisor Schultz, and the second was Supervisor Paulson, I believe. Just for your note, there's item 14 on here, this Parks Committee. That is, that was previously acted upon, so no actions required. So item number 14, we will not be dealing with tonight. Just so you're aware of that. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes, June 8th, 2020. Supervisor Renard.
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
Second by Supervisor Paulson. Any questions, additions, subtractions, comments? All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved. Communications, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Just for the record, we do have 28 supervisors present and 2 absent. And then we have the notice of planning and zoning public hearing, which is taking place July 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in room 205. We have some retirement recognitions tonight, and then we also have the treasurer's report printed on this green sheet of paper. And that's it.
We have some public comment tonight. We'll do the retirement recognitions first. Mr.
So
Waymire.
we always get an opportunity once a quarter to recognize employees who have been here and provided great service to Jefferson County and all our residents and stakeholders, providing vital public services in general. And so I believe we have 3 that we're going to be recognizing tonight from various departments with long-term tenure here. And I'll start with the first one, and this is actually for our highway department. Our highway commissioner could not be here tonight, but he did send some notes about who we would like to recognize tonight. So Randy Ramlett served over 41 years with the highway department. He was a dedicated and valuable member of the highway department that served in various positions, including as general laborer, snowplow driver, and equipment operator. However, his past 12 years, he has served as a bridge crew foreman, taking considerable pride in the upkeep of the bridges, guardrails, and other structures within Jefferson County. We hope Rambo enjoys his well-earned retirement. So Rambo, if you could come up, you recognize appropriately. Behalf of the county, you are, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. So with that being said, I'm going to turn over to our Human Services Director, Kathy Culley, to recognize a few folks from her department.
Hello, everyone. everyone. It's truly, it's my honor and my delight to say a few words about two wonderful people who really exhibited every day of their careers what is best in government. So the first person is Mary Springer. She started with Jefferson County in 1985. She retired last month as our lead long-term care economic support specialist. She helped numerous people who are elderly, blind, or disabled. She was a great asset to all of our colleagues at Human Services. She answered every phone call quickly, with great kindness, compassion, and thorough expertise. She was an utmost professional, dedicated to our mission and to the people we serve. And even more importantly, when people called her and their families, it was a time of greatest need, and she always came through for them. She was an outstanding role model for how to discern highly complicated technical information into useful terms. So she will be greatly missed. So come on up, Mary. Oh, she said she started in 1989. Sorry about that. I don't know. We had that down as 85. Thank you for the correction. See, always accurate. All righty. And then secondly, it truly is my honor to recognize Sandy Torguson. She started her employment at the courthouse in 1975. I got that right, Sandy? 1975. I believe she was a newborn, quite honestly. If I remember correctly, and I may not remember correctly, she once told me that she started working for the county at $1.65 an hour. She went on to become our supervisor in our economic support division. She experienced constant program changes and learned and unlearned more acronyms than anyone can possibly remember. But she led us through great transformations. She made sure Jefferson County residents had vital and accurate financial services. She went above and beyond in serving as our client rights specialist, which was really an unheard of role. She was compassionate, always kind and fair, a great listener, and tremendously reliable. Her ability to resolve concerns was outstanding and greatly appreciated by all. She served a central role in making our county and our economic support consortium a leader across the state. She has served for many years also on community boards and committees such as the Watertown Free Clinic. And she truly leaves a legacy that is an example for all of us. So thank you, Sandy. She led a great team, and she has a great team behind her. Thanks.
Commissioner of the board, we have three folks here to speak on things that are not on the agenda. Normally this would go at the end, but if we give 3 minutes each, is there anybody that objects to them going and doing their public comment right now rather than waiting to the end of the meeting? Seeing no objections, Ron Hatchell, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, I'm Ron Hochtel. I live at Hartwig Lane, just outside of Fort Atkinson, a couple miles off Black Hawk Island Road. I'm here tonight to inform the people about the diluent spill by the Enbridge oil line number 13, approximately 500 feet from my property. April 26, 2019, a potential leak was detected. Enbridge repaired the valve, but did not do this until June 2nd, 2019. That's 37 days after the leak was detected. Who knows how long this leaked before this was detected? Samples were found from July to October 2019. Enbridge conducted an excavation, samples, and found benzene, which is very cancerous and very explosive material. Concentrations greater than the soil to groundwater pathway. Enbridge delivered diluent spill was they figured this was only 1.35 gallons. That's what was told. However, work was stopped due to the COVID pandemic. I guess our lives was not an emergency at that time. July 2020, Enbridge penetrated the ground, boring and found benzene in the groundwater. The spill of diluent in the groundwater that was they didn't tell the DNR for 455 days after the spill was discovered. Why? From August 7th to October 28th, they installed 8 permanent monitoring wells. Enbridge revised the spill from 1.35 gallons to 1,385 gallons, or 33 barrels of this solution. Not until April 2021 did Enbridge contact homeowners within 1,500 feet. That's 2 years after the spill was discovered. And why was that? Why did they not let us know immediately? They also said at this time, Enbridge stated they do not have a lot of direct experience with a spill of diluent. Then why were they using diluent in this situation, harmful to the soil, the ground, and our lives, if they didn't know what to do with it, how to handle it, how to take care of it? Enbridge did contact one person, one home who was 300 feet away after the spill, and then they tested their water and they said it was okay. That was north of the spill. Enbridge told us the water goes north to southeast. Why did they check the house on the north and nobody else on the southeast of it? That's where we live.
That's 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope this word gets out about this spill, because not a lot of people realize this. Thank you.
Then I have Vicky Hatchtel.
Good evening. Ron is my husband. Just wanted to clarify that. My name is Victoria Hochtel. I live at W68 Hartwig Lane, Fort Atkinson. I'm here tonight representing only myself. When this pipeline situation came to my knowledge, I was concerned, but not overly so, because I didn't have the knowledge to understand the danger. They say that knowledge is power. And now that I have had to bring myself up to date on what is in the pipeline and something called a dilute, and finding out how destructive it has potential to be and the length of time that it can sit around and be a problem later on. The dilute has a patent. They can tell you what they use, but they don't tell you what the ratio that goes into it. It's like me saying I took a bottle of aspirin, but I don't know how many pills are in the bottle. It would be difficult to assess my potential harm. We would like to know that when we call emergency 911, that the people that will be showing up, whether it be the fire department or the police department, they would be knowledgeable about the dilute, whether to put water on it or foam or nothing. We don't know, they don't know. That leaves us in a very bad state. I would like to know if the situation ever happens again, and say they can't put a Band-Aid on it, there is a way to let us know so that we can leave as fast as possible. Black Hawk Island Road is a one-way in and one way out. And we live on the side that if anything happened, we would not be able to get out unless given enough time to do that. All we want, safety measures put in that we know are being talked about, that we keep us from harm if this were ever to happen again, and unfortunately, it will. I hope by my being here tonight will not be looked at as a thorn in your side, but as a cry for help. We can use all we can get. Please keep us in your thoughts and in your prayers. Thank you. P.S. I would like to thank some people on the Jefferson County Board that have taken the time to reach out to us, and that would be Anita Martin, Walt Christensen, and Donna Holcomb. I know our lives will never be the same again, but we're trying to get back to a little piece of heaven on Hartwig Lane. We would like to have an open forum with Enbridge, but we have been told not at this time, but I still hope we can. Thank you. And I don't want to stay any longer, and I hope you won't hold that against me, because I'd like to go home and have a brandy old fashioned and forget this ever happened.
Fair enough. I have Olaf Oxenvard. Oxenvard. Okay.
Howdy. I'd like to ask the board to look at possibly doing a Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance for Jefferson County. If you look at everything that's been happening in the last year, all of the riots, all of the violence and everything, and then you look at what the administration has been trying to do, trying to get rid of our guns, trying to take everything away, we need to do something to protect ourselves. Because you look at everything that's gone on for the last year, there have been a lot of attacks, a lot of riots, and what if something was to happen here? We don't have, and they took away our guns. We wouldn't have anything we could do. I got two beautiful little girls at home, and I can't imagine living in a world where I don't have a way of defending myself. And you look at administration, they're constantly talking about all of the guns control stuff that they want to put through. One of the scary things is I build guns for a living. I see a lot of what's going on in the background. If you haven't bought a gun in a while, you might not have noticed, but the Form 4473 is the form that everybody fills out for a firearm. The ATF just changed that form not too long ago to where the serial number and model of the gun is listed on the same exact page as all of your personal identifying information. It previously was on two separate pages. National Shooting Sports Foundation has been receiving calls from gun dealers all over the place, complaining that when ATF agents are coming in to do all of the audits, they're bringing their cell phones, they're taking pictures of every single 4473, and they're taking them back and they're putting a database together of all the guns that everybody's owning. This change was done in order to get around laws, because they're just going in, they don't care about the Second Amendment. The ATF has gone rogue. They're taking and they're making databases. They know where everybody has all their guns. They're going to come for them. And we need to put up some sort of safety net to where at least the people of this county can be assured that when the Biden administration or any other administration coming through wants to take away the guns, they don't have to worry about their neighbor cop being the one to do it. I don't want to be standing up against my neighbors when it comes to this. We need to put something in place so that our police are not the ones that are going to be doing this. If they're going to do it, if they want to do something, they need to bring the federal government in to do it, because our local police should not be the ones to do this. I've talked to Curtis Backlund. We have the language written out. All it is just saying the Second Amendment stands in this county, period. That's all it is. We're not saying that anything goes. We're just saying that this county should affirm the rights of the Second Amendment for all the citizens. Thank you.
And then we have Frankie Fuller.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening and to quickly share the information about our Solar Group 5 program. This is the second time that Fort Atkinson's Heart of the City organization has sponsored such a program with the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, and this time we are proud and excited to be teaming up with the Waukesha Green County team. The company we chose to work with is All Energy Solar, who has offices in Madison, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Massachusetts. So I am here to ask for your support and help by promoting and sharing information about the program with your acquaintances, business companions, friends, relatives, and everyone else you know. Jefferson County is suited well for this project. The solar farms that have and are being built in the county and the issues related to the proposed liquid natural gas plant in Ixonia highlight the struggles and choices we have to make in the face of a changing climate and developing energy resources. offering our residents an opportunity to purchase a clean energy alternative at an affordable price will add value to our properties while contributing to making the air in our communities cleaner, which improves the environment as well as the health of the people who live here. Participants in this program are also advised about rebates from the state and federal governments that are available to them. Fort Community Credit Union has agreed to be a co-sponsor of our program, as they were for our last project, and have affordable loans to help people participate. My husband and I participated in the earlier program, and it has inspired us to build on our initial investment by purchasing a new, more efficient gas furnace, get an energy audit for our home from Focus on Energy, purchase new, more energy efficient doors for our home, as well as purchasing a new Toyota Prius hybrid vehicle, and most recently, an electric lawnmower. These have all been incremental steps, but when you add them up over the years, it becomes significant, and it does make a difference. Promoting our solar group buy program is a good place to start. I want to thank you in advance for whatever assistance you can provide, and I will be leaving some brochures for you to share and distribute. We have just scheduled additional solar power hours for August that are available, and I will email each of you with that information, and we'll share the new handbills with the schedule when we get them printed. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for learning about this opportunity for the residents you represent. So here are the things, and I'll set them on the table. You can grab them on your way out the door.
Thank you, Frankie.
Thank you.
This takes us now to annual reports. Judge Hugh. We were commenting on your nice tan.
Although you likely know me, I'm Bill Hugh. I was first elected Jefferson County Circuit Court Judge in April 1995. I intend to serve through my final term, which expires July 31, 2025. I'm presiding judge in Jefferson County because my colleagues, Judge Will Gruber, Judge Robert Daring Jr., and Judge Bent Brantmeyer, honor me by considering me to be first among equals here. I'm also presiding judge through an informal Supreme Court designation by Chief Judge Jennifer Doro of the 3rd Judicial District. I'm pleased to report that as we begin to reoperate post-pandemic, Jefferson County remains a statewide leader in case processing and administration. This isn't possible without the dedication of my fellow judges and our hardworking magistrates Jennifer Weber and Brian Hartley. I would be remiss in failing to acknowledge and recognize county personnel, including our judicial assistants and clerk of courts support staff. The courts would have a difficult time efficiently administering justice without our foundation, the hardworking individuals who serve on the front line every day. The county board, county administration, county administrator, and our clerk of courts have been supportive of our plan of judicial administration during COVID to facilitate health and safety in our courtrooms through physical layout, distancing, and remote access. You have also supported every initiative we have undertaken to address issues affecting the health and safety of court users and employees and the public at large outside of COVID-related initiatives. These include alcohol monitoring for individuals charged with alcohol-related crimes, drug and alcohol court, victim impact panels as a component of sentencing for those found guilty of operating a motor vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant, and a special program designed to reunite children in need of protection and services with drug and alcohol-free, stable, and competent parent if reunification is in the child's best interests. We appreciate the support and confidence the county board has placed upon us, and will continue to be mindful of our need to report back to you so that you can be appraised of the current status of these initiatives. Although this report is typically reflective upon the preceding year, I believe we're all aware of the challenges of the COVID pandemic has had on our institutions. I'll not dwell on them except to again offer our sincere appreciation for the health and safety infrastructure and personnel you offered and provided to us during those trying times. In addition, Commissioners Weber and Hartley stepped up in a very meaningful way upon the resignation of our register and probate in early 2021. That department is operating very efficiently under their stewardship. We are fortunate to live and work in Jefferson County, a place where our work is supported by staff and other branches of our county government. Not every presiding judge is able to say that. We look forward to continuing our positive, cooperative working relationship with you as we strive always to maintain and enhance the high quality of life that we all enjoy in Jefferson County. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Any questions for Judge Hugh while he's here? Questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Judge.
Thank you.
Stacy Jensen, Child Support.
Good evening. As mentioned, I'm Stacy, Director of the Jefferson County Child Support Agency. For those that aren't familiar with our agency, we're located here at the courthouse just down the hall. Our agency is comprised of a team of 12 staff, and we manage approximately 5,000 cases per year, providing services. We provide many services, mainly to provide services to establish and enforce child support and establish paternity. You have a copy of our agency report for last year, so I will just briefly mention a few highlights. Although we had to modify the way we provided services, we continue to provide a safe way to perform genetic testing, which enabled our agency to continue to establish paternity throughout the entire last year. Customers were also able to safely appear by phone for their hearings and their appointments throughout last year. Also, while other agencies in the state closed their doors and suspended collections of cash child support, we continued to provide a safe way to collect child support here at the courthouse, and actually collected more in 2020 than we did in 2019. We also managed to meet all of our performance standards last year, and the team was awarded the Certificate of Excellence from the state. This year brings new project and opportunities for our team. This year we started off with a new goal by expanding our services to provide review and adjust services. Back in 2009, when we had many budget cuts, we had to actually stop providing that services. And between now and then, we actually had all of our customers do it pro se, which means do it theirself. So this is the first year we had reinstated that service, and we hope to be able to continue to provide full review and adjust services from here forward. We're also going to continue with some phone hearings. Last year we discovered that we had an actual increase of appearances for our customers. So we're going to continue with some type of hearings, allowing customers to appear by phone. We also noticed as a result of last year, the court actually issued fewer bench warrants. So that was actually a positive result of COVID. We're going to see if that those results continue, and we may actually continue that availability for customers. Next, we have something new coming up. We have the Kids Tcap interface. Kids is actually the computer system that our child support agency uses. Tcap is actually the computer system that the clerk of courts uses. That is scheduled for early next year, so we'll be actually working on preparing for that interface. We're hoping that that interface will streamline processes between our departments and actually reduce manual worker tasks. We're also focusing this year largely on investing in our team. Unfortunately, last year we didn't have the ability to offer training to any of our team. So this year we're reviewing our training needs and providing more training to our team members for program and professional training to make sure they have ample training to be successful and engaged in their roles. These are just a few of our highlights from this year. If anybody's interested in learning more about our program, please let me know. And as always, thank you for continued support of our program.
Thank you, Stacy. Any questions for Stacy? Seeing none, thank you. And our medical examiner, Nicole Tesh.
Good evening. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Usually I go right in order, but I wanted to go right into my statistics just to kind of get them out of the way, because I think my highlights and my goals and some other words I have to say are a little bit more impactful and important. So first, I just want to say that if for all those of you who don't know me, again, I'm Nicole Tesh. I've been here for about 6.5 years as the medical examiner. It has been a long 6.5 years. It's been a lot of redoing things and making policies and procedures, and I have loved every minute of it. I love Jefferson County. I love the people I work with, and the support that I get from the board and my committees is just wonderful. So it's been great, but it's been it's been tough. Last year was pretty tough too, with all the extra cases. We do a lot more than just death. We get called out to residences. We get called out to hospice cases. We have to look at bodies before they're cremated. We have to identify people. We have to go out and talk with families and notify them of their loved one's death. We have a lot of involvement with law enforcement and our families. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you just don't know until you really get into this job. With COVID last year, we had an increase in cases. It wasn't just COVID. Deaths increase every year. More people die, more people want to be cremated. So last year we had about 140 more deaths than we usually do. That was a lot. It was a lot to handle. But with my wonderful staff, we got through it. With the support of my law enforcement and my hospice nurses, my hospitals, emergency management, we did a really good job getting through without a lot of damage. And as the nation's seen, they saw an increase in drug deaths, we actually saw a slight decrease. So I feel like we're doing something right here in Jefferson County, and I think I say that every year because I really feel that we do a good job in prevention and awareness for drugs and suicides. So, so before I get into the highlights and the goals, I wanted to just go over a little bit of the statistics that usually you're interested in. So again, we had about 140 more cases in the year prior. They were not all COVID. We did have over 100 cases reported. I can't count how many COVID cases were reported because it wasn't all COVID. It was, well, they had COVID a couple months ago, or it's in their history. But what I can say is I signed about 61 of those death certificates. So although we had over 100 deaths that were Jefferson County residents, what you don't understand is the way that the reporting goes in Wisconsin is that I may not know of a resident that died in Madison because it's a natural occurring death that might not come back to me. So the cases that I've counted in here that are, I think it's 61, were physically what I had signed as COVID related. That doesn't mean that the other ones weren't reported. It just means that specifically those are the ones out of the reported deaths that were labeled as COVID, because you can have other comorbidities that kill you, not just COVID. We had a lot more scene investigations. So it was a lot more going out to cases, and that wasn't COVID. That was just an increase in cases, an increase of people dying at home. Could be a result of COVID though, considering most people didn't go anywhere. They didn't want to go to the doctor, or they couldn't go to the doctor, or they don't have health insurance. There's a lot of things that affect why we do what we have to do. So 50 more scene cases is another 3 to 4 hours per case potentially, and that's just the investigation on scene. You know, it doesn't include everything in the background. Cremations went up, more deaths, more cremations. It's cheaper. Also, people didn't want to have a service or couldn't have a service at the time, so they have moved it to maybe this year or just a safer time. It was a sad time though. It was very sad having to talk with those families about not having services and what they can do, and but it was also rewarding trying to help these families through this time. So I worked very closely with the funeral directors too with all of this. I have my hand in a lot of pots in my office. So, and like I said, I enjoy every moment of it and helping these families. With my actual manners of death, we had a few more accidental deaths. Now, accident, just to refresh your memories, or if you don't know, which that will include hip fractures, head injuries, motor vehicle crashes, overdoses, anything that's considered accidental, not intentional. We had a few high-profile cases last year, 3 of which were, 2 of them were homicides and 1 was not, but they were involved with the police, and or a couple more with the DCI. So last year was very busy despite COVID. Our suicide numbers were down by 1. Doesn't sound like much, but that's a small victory. It's a very small victory, but it's a victory. I try not to have undetermined deaths, but unfortunately there's times where we can't. So I do list the undetermined deaths on here. And all that means is that I just couldn't determine exactly what their cause and manner of death were. And that comes sometimes from not knowing whether or not the drugs played a role in causing an accidental death, or if it was withdrawal, things like that. So there's a couple in there that were very weird cases. So it was a weird year. It was just a very weird year. We had an increase in autopsies by 11. I can't help that. We were doing our best to, determine which ones need to go in. But unfortunately, that's just going to continue to rise depending on the violence that we have, the suicides we have, the overdoses we have, and we can't control that. So we just take the cases as they come and we analyze each one of them. Signed 92 more death certificates than the year before. That was a lot more. I was in the office a lot last year. And a lot of cremation permits. So those are the biggest highlights, other than the drug deaths. So the drug deaths, I thought maybe I would add in, it's a little different than last year. We went down by 3 total drug-related cases. So just to explain what this means is the total drug-related cases, I don't call them overdoses because a lot of times they're mixed drug toxicities, and I don't want to mislabel it as they're just overdosing. It could be that they accidentally mixed a couple of drugs together and unfortunately died accidentally. Most of them were not suicides. There could have been 1 or 2 in there, but most of them were accidents. So opiates, out of the 15, 14 of them included opiates. Opiates can be anything. That can be Vicodin, Percocet, heroin, morphine, fentanyl. It includes all of that. So that's just opiates in general. Heroin was only in 2 of the deaths. So I'm not including, those are separate. So 2 of the 15 deaths included heroin. That's good. No more heroin. The fentanyl or fentanyl analogs, there was 11 out of the 15. It's a lot stronger. Smaller capacity can kill you. We needed to be more careful for the last few years at scenes because we've got law enforcement and us finding a powdery substance. So we're constantly being careful with what we're touching, where we're going, what we're wearing. We're always wearing masks, especially on these drug scenes. So COVID really helped with that too, with the drug scenes. And then cocaine. Cocaine has made a comeback. It was in 3 of the 15 deaths, but I'm seeing it mixed with fentanyl a lot. So I just wanted to notate there. I don't note every single drug that we find, just more of the drugs of interest, and these are the ones that I've been asked about. So if you ever have a question on what drugs I have in any of my drug-related cases, you can feel free to contact me. And like I said, I just don't break them down between all of the different drugs, but these are the most, the main ones. So lastly, just to talk about some highlights from 2020. If you recall, in 2019, I installed a crypt up at Potter's Field, and I'm so proud of that project. I didn't have any idea that I'd be dealing with indigents, people who are unclaimed. When I first started this job, I didn't know what happened to them prior to me being here, but now I know what happens to them with me being here. We have somebody whose family doesn't want them, or they don't have family, or we can't find family. They have a place to go. They have a place to call home. And so that's at Potter's Field. If you haven't been there, there was an article that was put out in 2020 that discussed what Potter's Field is and my crypt project. You could also go visit. I would encourage you to do that and sign the guest book. It's beautiful up there. It's an amazing site, and we're taking very good care of it. I know our Land and Water Conservation and Parks Departments just landscape it very nicely, and there's some work that we're still looking to be done with removing some unsightly rocks that were dumped there from the farms. But it's beautiful, and I really would like you to go up there and check it out. My staff members received Narcan training last year, so we all have Narcan coupons. I can thank the Emmy with the Drug Free Coalition for that, for our safety. We participated in suicide prevention and awareness events. Even though they were small, we still participated in them last year, even if it means putting up signs and flyers or doing a small event or doing an event right before COVID hit at one of the schools. And I'm the co-leader of the Zero Suicide team, so I participate in just about everything that we do. provided education to outside agencies and healthcare providers. I'm always providing education to them to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're working together to make sure our community is safe. And of course, I provide mutual aid to outside counties if needed. So that happened. I mean, Dodge County needed some help for a little while. I needed some help. They helped me. And so we work very well together. And we've been doing that for the last 6 years since I've been here. So some goals for 2021, some of which I've already started since it's halfway through the year. But I have to wait to give you my stats halfway through the year because sometimes I don't get autopsy reports back fast enough. So I'm still working on this grief brochure. We have a suicide one, but there's a specific grief one that I want to have our funeral homes listed in and some other resources, not just for suicide survivors, but also for other grief resources. So that's going to be done by the end of the year. Considering I now have help in my office, I may be able to do that. My second thing is train a new part-time investigator on all of the essential office duties and procedures. That is a slow-going process. I did hire Dawn, who has been a per diem for me since 2016, and she is working out amazing. It's never enough hours because there's never enough hours in the day to do our job, but she's been a very big help. So that happened already. I'm going to continue to co-lead the Zero Suicide team. We have a few events that are coming up. The one that we did a paint night event where we painted boards and put sayings on them. And it was a fundraiser for us, and we're going to do more of those. So we're looking to do something right around the week of Suicide Prevention and Awareness Week, which is September 5th through the 11th. So please look out for our event flyer then. I'm hoping to continue participation in the Child Death Review Team. I'm co-chair of that, but we had to put that on hold because of COVID, and there were so many other things going on, and now our chair has had to step down. So I'm kind of hoping to get that going back up maybe by the end of the year or beginning of next year. I think that's very important as well. And of course, I'll continue to provide the education to our agencies and our healthcare providers and mutual aid for other counties. So hand in a lot of pots, doing good work, enjoying it. Thank you for all of your support.
Thank you, Nicole. Any questions for our MA? Any questions? Thank you very much, Nicole. Item number 10, Buildings and Grounds Committee. Resolution accepting bids for roofing and electrical repairs and improvements to Workforce Development Building. Supervisor Backlund.
Do we have a resolution number?
12.
Thank you. During the winter of 2020-21, an accumulation of ice on the roof of the Workforce Development Building caused damage to the gutters, creating an unsafe work environment. Jefferson County engaged Struck-Right Architects and Moss Construction to develop specifics to solicit bids to repair the damage caused and mitigate future damage to the building and sidewalks. On June 29, 2021, Jefferson County received bids from vendors for the installation of new gutters and electrical improvements to repair the current damage and prevent future damage from ice accumulation. Members of the Jefferson County's administrative team have reviewed the bids and recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the county administrator to enter into a contract with the lowest responsible bidder, FJA Christensen Roofing, for roofing repairs and improvements in the amount of $24,944, and Ready Electric for electrical repairs and improvements in the amount of $16,750. The Buildings and Grounds Committee reviewed this resolution on July 7th, 2021 meeting, and the Finance Committee reviewed this resolution at its July 8th, 2021 meeting, and both recommended forwarding to the County Board of Supervisors for approval. Fiscal note. Roofing and electrical improvements to the Workforce Development Building will be funded with the Series 2020A bond proceeds. No budget adjustment is necessary. I recommend approval of this resolution.
Second.
I have a second. Okay. Any discussion? Questions? Questions or discussion? If not, we'll take a we'll just take a voice vote here. All in favor of accepting these bids, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, hearing none. Resolution is approved. Supervisor Backlund.
Is this 13? Thank you. Accepting bid for the water main project at South Campus. During the 2020, Jefferson County made improvements to its South Campus buildings. While this project was ongoing, a water main leak was detected. Replacement of the water main was not a part of the original project scope. Upon review, it was determined that it would be prudent to replace the water main as part of the South Campus improvements prior to the parking lot and Annex Road repaving project. Jefferson County solicited bids for the replacement of the water main and alternate routing options of water pipes and valves to the Hillside building. On June 29th, 2021, Jefferson County received one bid from Wandra Construction for the water main replacement and alternate routing options. Members of the Jefferson County's administrative team reviewed the bid and recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the county administrator to enter in a contract with Wonder Construction for water main replacement and alternate routing in the amount of $234,706. The Building and Grounds Committee reviewed this resolution on July 7, 2021 meeting, and the Financial Committee reviewed this resolution at its July 8, 2021 meeting, and both recommended forwarding to the County Board of Supervisors for approval. Fiscal note, this will be funded with the Series 2020A bond proceeds. No budget adjustment is necessary. I recommend approval of this resolution.
Do I have a second? Second is, any discussion?
I just got a quick comment. One of the things, Moss Construction did look at this and said this was a reasonable bid, even though it was only one. They felt it was reasonable for the amount of work being done.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion? Otherwise, all in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, resolution passes. Supervisor Backlund.
I'm assuming this is 14, as we're on a roll? Okay. Got it. Entering into a contract with Potter Lawson to provide schematic design development, construction documentation, and contract/construction administration for the Jefferson County Courthouse, Sheriff's Office, and Jail. Over the last 20 years, various studies have been conducted relating to the long-term needs of the county facilities, including the courthouse and adjoining Sheriff's Office and Jail. The most recent significant study took place in 2005. Jefferson County implemented several recommendations from this study, including relocating the corporate counsel office, reconstructing the courthouse security entrance, and constructing a new highway operations facility and satellite facilities. Since this 2005 study, larger projects at the courthouse have included renovation of public restrooms, modest upgrades to the county boardroom, technology upgrades to the courtrooms, replacement of the majority of the courthouse roof, and installing new boilers. In 2014, the county continued to evaluate its long-term needs through an independent consultant. This 2014 evaluation concluded that many of the components within the facilities have reached their end of life. Based on these studies and reports, both the Task Force on Operations and Organizations and the county strategic plan determined that a plan needed to be developed to update the county facilities. A request for proposal was issued on November 19, 2019, for the purpose of assisting in the development of a cost-effective solution to address the significant facility infrastructure issues identified in the studies and to provide for flexibility in operations while balancing current courthouse security needs. A required pre-proposal conference and facility tour was held on December 3rd, 2019, and proposals were due on December 10th, 2019. 3 highly qualified firms were selected as final candidates. In the interview panel recommended Potter Lawson, which was approved by the county board on January 14, 2020. Subsequent to this contract being entered into, Potter Lawson has met and exceeded the expectations in working with the Building and Grounds Committee and staff over the past 18 months to develop a comprehensive plan to meet the future needs of the courthouse, sheriff's office, and jail facilities to support current and future operations of the county. The county board on June 8th, 2021 endorse and accepting the plan as developed by Potter Lawson and directing the county administrator to engage in the next phase of efforts. This included in-depth design work, which are categorized as schematic design, design to development, construction documentation, and contract/construction administration. The Building and Grounds Committee met on July 7th and recommended to continue its efforts with Potter Lawson for these professional services at a price not to exceed $2.65 million. This resolution authorizes the county administrator to enter into a contract with Potter Lawson to provide the services as described above, with funding such services from existing and future bond proceeds, which will be approved by the county board at a future date. Fiscal note, funding for these services will be through existing and future bond proceeds approved by the county board at a later date. I recommend approval of this resolution.
Second.
The motion is made and second. Questions? Discussion? Supervisor Smith.
I think we have a responsibility to the building to make it ADA accessible and to update our mechanicals. On Facebook, the community page, I told my constituents if they're not willing to pay for an improvement in the courthouse, then they shouldn't be complaining about how inefficient it is. I think we have a responsibility to our employees to make this place safe, while at the same point, I cannot support this because I can't support how we're financing this project. That one option, as far as I know, has never been presented to us is what if we sold the $35 million worth of bonds to begin with, paid the premium, so we know what our financing costs are. So make no mistake, the $67 for a $250,000 house we heard at the last meeting is an estimate. We will not know the cost of doing this until the project is complete or we're selling the last $6 or $8 million worth of bonds. And to me, with the volatility that we have, nothing says 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're not going to be paying some incredible interest rate, and we're going to be halfway in the middle of some construction project that we can't stop, and all of a sudden we're, who knows what it's going to cost. So if I can't support financing the project, I can't support, starting it with this. So, what I see is we're taking, by the time we get done, it's going to cost far more than it should, and it's going to take far longer than it should. That if we were to get our bonds up front, I would have to ask our contractor, how long is this going to take? Because if we can do it for a certain amount in 2 years, why would we take the risk of doing it in 4 years and not knowing what interest rates will be 2, 3, and 4 years from now? All right, thank you.
Any other questions, discussions? Questions, and Supervisor Kennard.
I guess my question goes to, were there any other, architects involved, or did we ask any other architect if, for a quote? Potter Lawson did the space needs study, provided the schematics for that. I don't believe, they do have some data, which should be the county's data since we paid them to provide that service. We should be able to transfer that to somebody else if needed. They very well may be the best, price for the dollar here, but without having anything to consider it to, any comparables, I guess it's hard to say that for $2.65 million, I think we should have multiple bidders here. I think that's my thoughts.
Any other questions or comments? Supervisor David.
I still have concerns that we're driving down the road, looking in the rear view mirror, and there's some curves coming up, and we won't be addressing them in this plan.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Take a roll call vote.
Could I make a comment yet, please?
Sure, yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Martin is recognized.
Thank you. The proposal that Supervisor Smith mentioned about borrowing the money up front like that, is that something that would be feasible at this time? And then we could lock into that this particular interest rate. Thank you.
Mark or Ben, you want to comment on that?
So it's feasible. So there's a couple action items that take place. So as discussed, the Finance Committee kind of had a briefing and education of what the next process would be if we would issue debt as part of this process. So the first thing that would be considered by the county board is called initial authorizing resolution. And this is similar in nature, if you recall, for the highway shop, how we handle that project. And what that is the first initial resolution that basically would put the capital total amount that we assume the project's going to be based on the estimates we received to date. And that would be the amount that we potentially could go up to and not exceed for issuing debt. That status point would require a 3/4 vote. Once that has been accomplished, we would look at the best financing package, working with Ellers, our financial consultants, of what would make the most sense in terms of series of bonds. So in theory, yes, we could issue it all at once. The one thing we do monitor as part of the process is what's called bank qualified debt. Typically right now that is buying you a reduction of roughly 40 basis points, nearly 0.5% of interest, if you have debt that's called bank qualified. And what that is banks are able to bid on that debt. By current federal law, a municipal entity is allowed to only do up to $10 million a year and still qualify for bank qualified debt. Now, there is conversations going at the federal level to increase that threshold up to almost $30 million, $20 million, depending on what time and place the legislation is being proposed. And so what has been spelled out when we looked through the various scenarios was trying to look at when that would be needed from a cash flow standpoint, staying in compliance with arbitrage laws, and maximizing the benefits of potentially the bank qualified debt to reduce that long-term interest rate that would impact that levy amount. Now, it was discussed at the Finance Committee because if you may recall that presentation is looking at the initial debt for this year would be roughly $6 million, give or take a little bit. And the question came forward is, with the lower interest rates today that we know, to Supervisor Smith's point, do we go ahead as part of that analysis and do the $10 million this year so we know we have that, that interest rate locked in? We are looking at projections. The numbers you were presented show a modest interest rate based on what we think the feds might be doing in future years. So I believe the first year after this year, we show roughly a 50 basis point increase or 0.5% increase, and then roughly another 75 basis points after that, right? Or is it reverse? So 75 basis points first, and then 50 basis points for the subsequent two issuances to incorporate the potential inflation that we might see from interest rates. It's still at the lowest level we've seen in a long time, and managing that. But again, we're trying to look around that bank qualification, trying to reduce that interest rate. That's why it was structured in that manner. But you could do the full amount if that's what the board would like to do.
I have another question. Has anybody
Smith.
asked the contractor if we were to get the money up front, how long this would take? Instead of 4 years?
So the total amount so the design is roughly 9 months. So once that is triggered to go forward, the bid packages and design elements we completed so we could have bidding done. The intention is that those bids, based on the current timeline, would take place spring of next year until next summer of next year. Once construction starts, they're looking at 2 years. So you have the leeway time of the actual construction design drawings that have to take place so they can be bid upon accordingly. And then roughly it's 2 years. So we're looking at construction being completed by 2024.
Any other questions or comments? Questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Difficulty.
Yeah, is do the same thing.
Supervisor David? Supervisor Smith?
No.
Supervisor Martin? Supervisor Nealon?
Yes.
Supervisor Schultz,
Yes.
Supervisor Christensen,
Yes.
Supervisor Zarling. Okay, we have 25 yes, 3 no, and 2 absent.
Thank you. Thank you, Audrey. This takes us to item 11, Finance Committee. Supervisor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 2021-15, accepting bid for the construction of emergency telecommunication tower sites. On June 15, 2021, the Sheriff's Office received bids from vendors for radio communication project civil work for its 911 emergency telecommunication tower sites. Work at these sites generally include installation of prefabricated precast equipment shelters, backup generator systems, ice bridges, chain link fence compounds, site grounding systems, and other general site improvements. The Sheriff's Office and members of the Jefferson County Administrative Team have reviewed the bids and recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the County Administrator to enter a contract with Finnish Excavating Incorporated as the lowest responsible bidder for radio communication project civil work in the amount of $636,227. The Finance Committee reviewed this resolution at the July 8, 2021 meeting and recommend forwarding to the County Board of Supervisors for approval. Fiscal note, radio communication project civil works costs are included in the 911 telecommunication infrastructure project budget and will be funded with the Series 2020A bond proceeds. No budget adjustment is necessary. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Motion was made and seconded. Any discussion concerning this resolution? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Supervisor Jones.
Resolution number 2021-16, considering claim for damages by Jim Nelson. A claim has been made against Jefferson County for damages. The claim has been reviewed by the county's insurance carrier, WMIC, and was recommended for disallowance based on the finding that the county has no liability for this claim and is not legally responsible for the alleged damages. This resolution formally denies the claim filed against Jefferson County and directs the Corporation Council to give the claimant notice of disallowance. The Finance Committee considered this resolution July 8, 2021, and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, this matter has been referred to the Wisconsin Municipal Mutual Insurance Company, WMIC, and will be resolved in accordance with the terms of the county's policy. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. The resolution passes. Take us to item 12, Human Resources Committee. Supervisor Brogger.
Ordinance number 2021-5, creating Personnel Ordinance HR 0246, telecommuting and remote work policy and procedure. When the COVID-19 pandemic started, many county employees were asked to work from home to assist in stopping the spread of COVID-19 to other coworkers and the public. This transition happened very quickly, and temporary rules were established for employees working off-site. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Wisconsin Department of Health Services have provided recent updates relaxing the guidance on wearing masks, social distancing, and social gatherings. In addition, the spread of COVID-19 in Jefferson County has decreased significantly. Therefore, it was recommended by the county administrator that employees begin return to work on-site on a full-time basis. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, telecommuting or remote work was approved on a very limited basis and only by the county administrator. However, as a result of implementing temporary remote telecommuting policies due to COVID-19, it was determined that remote work might actually be beneficial to the employee and the county, as well as a prudent business decision. Examples of when this may be beneficial include employees working on a dedicated project which does not require them to be on site, results-oriented positions where productivity can be accurately monitored, instances when physical space at a county facility is limited, short-term arrangements providing flexibility for employees unable to be on site but otherwise able to work. Therefore, it is the recommendation of the Human Resource Director and the County Administrator to implement an ongoing policy on telecommuting and remote work and amend the county's personnel ordinance accordingly. On June 15, 2021, the Human Resource Committee reviewed the request from the Human Resources Director and the County Administrator to amend the Personnel Ordinance and to create a telecommuting and remote work ordinance. The Human Resource Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on June 15, 2021, and recommend forwarding to the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors for approval. I move for passage.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Discussion, questions concerning this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote here. All in favor of this ordinance, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ordinance passes. Item 13, Land and Water Conservation Committee. Supervisor Falker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution, I think it's 2021-17. Okay. Phragmites is a non-native invasive grass that grows in wetlands. There's a population of phragmites of about 2 acres growing along the Rock River north of Jefferson. Due to the proximity of the phragmites to the Rock River and County Highway N, it is very likely to spread to other areas and to have negative ecological impacts if not managed. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources has an early detection response grant to manage phragmites and other aquatic invasive species due to the effort needed to properly control invasive species. This project will greatly benefit the area and align well with both the statewide and Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Department's aquatic invasive species management and prevention goals. This resolution authorizes the Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Department to apply for and, if awarded, to accept grant funds of approximately $5,700 for the purpose of managing phragmites in Jefferson County. The Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on June 16, 2021, and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Whereas the executive summary is incorporated in this resolution, and whereas Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Department is interested in obtaining a cost share grant from Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for the purpose of eradicating an approximately 2-acre stand of the invasive wetland grass phragmites. And whereas Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation attests to the validity and veracity of the statements and representations contained in the grant application, whereas a grant agreement will be entered into between Jefferson County and Wisconsin DNR to carry out the project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors that the Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Department will meet the financial obligations necessary to fully and satisfactorily complete the project, and whereby authorize and empowers the Land and Water Conservation Department Director to submit the following documents to the Wisconsin DNR for financial assistance that may be available. Number 1, sign and submit the required grant application. Number 2, enter into a grant agreement with the DNR. And number 3, submit quarterly and or final reports to the DNR to satisfy the grant agreement as appropriate. And submit a reimbursement request to the DNR no later than the date specified in the grant agreement. Be it further resolved that Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Department will comply with all local, state, and federal laws, rules, regulations, and ordinances relating to this project and cost share agreement. Fiscal note, the total grant amount is estimated to be $5,700, which will cover the cost of treating the phragmites and reseeding the native planters. And the landowner has covered the required matching funds, $2,000 in the Land and Water Conservation Department. Staff time will be covered by an existing DNR Lake Protection and Monitoring Network grant. It is already currently budgeted. There is no budget adjustment necessary. Mr. Chair, I move for Resolution 2021-17.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion, questions concerning this resolution? Seeing none, a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. As you recall, item number 14 requires no action from us tonight, so we're on to item number 15, Planning and Zoning Committee. Supervisor Jacob.
Report to the honorable members of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing held on May 20th and June 17th, 2021, as required by law pursuant to Wisconsin statutes. Notice thereof having been given and duly being advised the wishes of the town boards and persons in the affected areas, hereby makes the following recommendations. Approval of petitions as listed. Dated this 28th day of June 2021, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. And it moves on to ordinance number 2021-6, amending the official zoning map of Jefferson County as printed. Mr. Chair, I move for approval of this ordinance.
Any discussion, questions concerning the zoning ordinance? Supervisor Kennard.
I will abstain for potential conflict of interest.
Supervisor Jones, did you have? No, okay. Any other comments, questions? All in favor of this ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes. Appointments by the county administrators. Mr. Waymire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll do this in 2 rounds. By virtue of the authority vested in me in sections 59.18, parent 2, parent B of the Wisconsin statute, I respectfully request confirmation of the following appointments. Letter A, Jaden Sari Hoy of the town of Aslan to the zoning board of adjustments for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2024. Dan Jekyll, town of Koshkonong to the zoning board of adjustment as alternate for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2024. And Gino Rescanelli of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, the Human Services Board to fill an unexpired term ending November 1st, 2022. I respectfully accept confirmation of those appointments.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Those are confirmed. Mr. Waymire.
And my last one, I want to pull this out, and under the same authority, I'm seeking the appointment of this person, and mainly because I just want to talk a little bit. So tonight, I'm bringing forward to the county board to appoint Kevin Weissman as our new parks director and department head. This last year, since Joe's left, he's really carried on the mission and vision and what's taken place, and really brought the team together. If you've seen some of the things that they have done out there, last year when the state park system set down, we had unbelievable people coming out to our recreation, whether to explore new things or just to take a mental health break. And Kevin and his team really took care of a lot of things. He led us through the final phases of planning for our outdoor recreation plan, was a key member of our comprehensive plan. So he's really stood up in terms of where he thinks the Parks Department go with the vision and values that this county holds dear. We've had a lot of conversations about where do we head, looking at the operations, and so I think he's going to be a great person to take the Parks Department in the future and continue to build on that legacy that has been built before. So with that being said, I respectfully confirmation of Kevin Weissman as our next Parks Director.
I move for that confirmation.
All in favor of that confirmation, say aye. Aye.
Question.
Kirk's got a question.
Oh, Kirk. Go ahead, Kirk.
Yeah, the packet says Fair Park Director. Am I incorrect in that that's a different position than Parks Director?
I don't know.
Mine says Fair Parks.
Yeah, it should, in the appointment package, should be Parks Director.
Some of them say
Up
park,
page.
some say Fair Park, I guess. Mine says parks.
Yeah. But yeah, for clarification, is the Parks Director
Parks Department, yes.
and our Fair Park Director is still here, so.
So again, all in favor of this, of appointing Kevin Weissman as our Parks Director, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Kevin. And any opposed? Hearing none. Appointment to the Human Services Board. Mr. Waymire. Oh, excuse me. Mr. Jones.
By virtue of the authority vested in Human Service Board under Section 3.06, Sub 1, Sub G of the County Board Rules, the Human Service Board hereby requests County Board confirmation of the following appointment. Katie Dixon to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Advisory Committee, the ADRC, for a 3-year term ending July 1, 2024, and Frankie Fuller to the Nutrition Project Council for a 3-year term ending July 13, 2024. I move for passage of these appointments.
Have a second? Questions, comments? All in favor of these appointments, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, they are appointed. We have a public comment of a general nature. We've already done that, so that moves on to announcements. I know Supervisor Christensen had an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to remind everybody with an earshot here that we're going to have another Brew with a View out at Corth Park on July 22nd, the Thursday, late afternoon till about 8 o'clock. Music, beer, and so on. We did have, I think, a very successful earlier Brew with a View in June, on June 24th. And that netted us, anyway, we took in $5,086 as a result of that fundraiser. And so I want to thank Tyranita Brewing of Lake Mills for their assistance in that. And the band, I don't have their name in front of me, the vendors, the Parks Department employees that did a lot of work to make that happen, and then the public for showing up. That was all pretty cool. It was a really good time. So I really urge everybody to make this next one. It's fun.
Supervisor Smith, you had an announcement?
Yes. I would just like to go on the record as saying that not that I think we deserve a raise, but at least our pay should be compensated, adjusted for inflation for whenever it went back to the last time they came up with us. And I'm guessing this pay has been the same since the last century. So before our term is over, so the next people sitting here, I hope can at least get adjusted for inflation. Just want to go on the record for saying that. And I do have several questions I'd like to ask this board if somebody can answer for me. In the Jefferson paper, they said that the tank in Exonia was going to cost save ratepayers $100 million. Since it actually was going to cost $180 million, can anybody tell me how much this is going to cost ratepayers? Anyone? Did we ever get a straight answer out of We Energies for that? Okay, another question I have. Does anyone, they said 12 million gallons of liquid natural gas. Does anybody know how many cubic feet of natural gas that is? Anyone? Okay. One of the things in the agreement, or I guess one of the things that probably isn't in the agreement is some disclosure of maintenance, 30, 40, 50 years from now. Was there anything in the agreement that they have to disclose to the county what kind of maintenance they're doing so it doesn't turn into the courthouse, 50 years from now? Is there anything in there? Okay. Can anybody tell me what a levy is? Anybody? A levy. B-L-E-V-E. It's the scientific term of what that tank's going to do when it blows up. So as you research what could possibly happen, that would probably be the word you would use to research it. And lastly, when I asked how necessary this tank was, she went off on how we have a supply issue and that we were going to turn into Texas. Now, my question is, that was the first time I'd heard of that, and it was only because we asked it. If that were true when they presented this to us 5 months ago, why wouldn't that be the first thing they tell us, that we have a supply issue and we need this tank because we have a supply issue. We're going to turn into Texas if we don't get this tank. So I'd have an interest as to why that wasn't presented to us sooner. Anybody? So, to think that we actually did our job, I would have to question that. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple announcements. I want to thank the Fair Committee for having a fair again this year. It came off quite well, and Mr. Paulson told me that they had a very good attendance this year. And I think people took the opportunity to come and appreciate the fair, and they needed that chance. The other announcement I'd like to make, I'd like everybody to congratulate Supervisor Jekyll, who got married last week. And he will be missing his, he was gracious enough to hold off his honeymoon to make the meeting tonight. Thank you, George. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Oh, George. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.